There was one thing I did for Blue Quest 9. I gave it a method and I said, like, can you describe to me in English what is happening here? And like that helped me with debugging. So it's just kind of a gray area. I feel like I would probably have to ask the teacher himself. It's like a subjective thing.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry it's a little late, but I can see that you guys were having a great time. By the way, you should all switch on your cameras, okay? Because and yeah, because I saw Noah and Mason were the only ones who had a camera on when I came first. Okay, so yeah, and this way I'll also get to know because I can associate a face with there's only so many rectangles that can go around. Hey, Connor. Yeah, welcome back. Okay. Yeah, I recognized you after I saw you on that cap. So, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great. Yeah, I know you mentioned on the Reddit that you are back, and that's fantastic. Good to see you, and Mason and Noah. A lot of old timers here. Okay, so I'm very glad to see all of you. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have a blast. Hey, Taj, Ryan, who's got a cat here? Daniel and Aditya, you should also, and Teddy, you should all switch on your cameras, okay?
Yep, I'm
Yeah.
switching to my laptop
And
so I
it'll be
can do
much more
that
fun
for
that
you.
way. Yeah. There's a bunch of us who are missing. Maybe it's a timing issue. Cindy was going to be at these meetings, and maybe next week. But anyway, that doesn't have to be just one meeting, okay? It just happens to be the first meeting and the meeting that I am attending. But you guys can have any number of meetings, maybe it's like 5+ other people that want to have a different time. Just get together and let me know so I can make that Zoom link and share that Zoom link with you. Yeah, so that only people that authenticate through Zoom can join the meeting. So you can just share it after that. You get the Zoom link and you can share it with anyone you want. And anyone who is able to authenticate through Canvas will be able to join these meetings. Yeah. All right. Okay. So that's great. I'm very happy to see you guys. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to stick around as long as you guys want me to, and I'm happy to leave when you tell me to. All right. But I'm pretty sure that you guys are probably having a good time. At least the guys who are here today at this meeting. I think you've all been questioning hard and trying to eke out all these little points. I think just a little while ago I got an email from one of you. Maybe it was from 2A. Oh, yes. Okay. Can you please tell us where the remaining trophies are? Because they've got past the, pup and they want to go to the dog. And I think that is where the fun is. So get to that place quickly. So good. Pup all the things and then get to the end. And then you'll have the rest of the quarter to basically just go hunting in the little nooks and crannies to make sure you collect everything. That's part of the fun. I don't know. Maybe it's for me. I don't know if it would have been fun for me. Someone said last quarter, it's probably a bad idea. Kyle Stadler, I think his name was Kyle Stadler, right? One of these meetings, he said, no, bad idea. Don't do that. To try and dog them ass and when you go. That was his advice to 2B students. And the reason he gave was that if you pop and then go and then come back here, according to him, the context switch that you got to get the old spec back in your mind especially after having all these other challenging courses you're doing. Yeah, you're probably doing a couple more challenging courses. Hopefully you're not overloaded like all 6 or 8 or 5 challenging courses. Okay, probably have 1 or 2, like CS2B is a challenging course. Maybe have 1 in math, maybe 1 in physics. Okay, max 3. Okay, the rest of them should be easy courses. So if you're like that, I think I think you'll be fine actually. So if you just keep questioning at the current rate, you'll have a lot of fun. Yeah, and finish it all off, pop, and then you'll have a lot of time. And you go back and forth, right? Like polishing your piece. And then you say, I'm going to pick up a couple of here, and then you can have interesting conversations too. Then you can strike it up with random people, random people on the questing trail who are at different points and say, hey, you got any ideas for looking in this particular place? And they may share that with you. And that's where all the fun is, right? That's also where the collaborative thing comes, but you got to get past that milestone first. As many people in CS2A already know this. Right? Once you get past the pub, there's a lot of fun involved in just interacting with other people to find out where did I miss a few, right? And so, because you do get by missing a few points, but going back And I think it is worth it to forget and then come back, because if you forget, come back, and then remember, the chances are much less that you'll forget it again. So forget it once and then come back. So forget it, pop, and then come back, and then refresh your memory again from the beginning on the quest and try and dog them. I think it'll be fun. Okay. So and I think we have guests. We have help this quarter. Okay, we have a couple of interns who are actually we have the organizers of the Genius Bootcamp will be happy to help when you're absolutely stuck in 2B, right? So meaning that there's always someone who's got your back, but that should not be a sign that you've got someone who can help you out, because they know, having gone through this process before, they know not to help. Okay, so they're going to let you struggle until you're pretty much pretty close to dead, because once you get past it, you actually you will find yourself. It's much better that way. Okay, so they will help you if you're going in the complete wrong direction, obviously, which I will too. Right? I got time and I will help you. So we got interns that will help you. Embedded tutor Chris, who's actually a Red Dog, right? So he's done all of them. So he's one of our tutors. He'll also be able to help you, but you just have to put in the time and effort yourself. You got to spend a lot of time, right? It's not like I think I should say this to my 2A students tomorrow. I got a class tomorrow, so maybe I should remember to say this, face to face. Anyway, by the way, you guys are more than welcome to attend my face to face 2A class. If you're free at 6 p.m. on Friday, no, not Friday, Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. You're free. Just come along, just sit in our 2A class. It's actually fun. There's a lot of really nice people. Anyway, the message I want to give them is the same message I want to give you. Is that this 2A or 2B, they are not classes different from the kinds of classes that I've enrolled in when I was a student, right? Not grad student, right? Undergrad student. When I was an undergrad student, I had this bad habit. And I think I see this habit in kids today, right? My own kids had them for a while, okay? But, sometimes they get over these things. These days, I think modern, it's better, is the belief that you enroll in class, and your college starts, and as soon as college starts, it's basically party time. Okay, because that's what we're looking for. When I was an undergrad student, anyway. So as we're going away from home, there's a lot of things you can do, lots of fun. Okay, and we say that, all right, these things, I just need to know what's being covered each week so that I can pick it up during a couple of weeks before the exam. Usually it's like 1 week before the exam, right? And that's when we tend to pile everything up and try to cram things in. It actually served me okay for in the beginning, but it was a real big handicap later on when I decided to do graduate level stuff. That kind of thing totally does not help. Okay, so you got to rediscipline yourself from scratch. And I tell you, picking up the right discipline from day one is much better than redisciplining you later on. So I think that don't do either this class or 2A. Saying, okay, well, there's a bunch of topics. I'll just say 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the exam, I'll start cramming or trying to understand these data structures. Does not work. It's like watering a plant. You can't say, I'm going to water, 55 gallons of water in the last hour. Doesn't work. Okay, you got to water it every day. And that's how knowledge also grows, I think. So you got to make sure that you put in the practice, even though you don't feel like it, right? So you got to go and do that. And so do the quests every week. You got to do that, and every week you got to participate and stay ahead. Okay, don't put it off, saying I'm gonna take it easy now, I'll come back, right? People don't come back. It catches up much faster than you think you can run. Okay, and I can guarantee that lots of people just do that and they give up and say, well, come back a second time and do the same course. Actually, it's really funny because a lot of people who actually give up in the first run come in with the wrong expectation, thinking that it's a different kind of course. And I can easily cope because I've done similar courses and I've done this, right? But they realize that, no, this is actually running at a different pace. I got to be on the tip of my toes every single minute. And then, strangely enough, they drop the class. And then I don't see them going to some other section, which is easier. They come back to this very section. That's why I see a lot of repeat students too. Right? So in other words, they've dropped it after realizing that this is what they actually want to do. It's hard work, but they want to do that. Okay. So I want all of you to be like that too. Right? So even if you don't manage to do it this quarter, that's okay. Don't worry. Okay. Be a part of the Genius Bootcamp. You can continue doing the quests in your own time, in your own spare time. People in the bootcamp will help you. So you can keep doing that. And it's really not a paper degree at the end. Obviously, if you finish all the green quests, you can pick up a 2B certification at Foothill very easily, right? So in my section, for example, right? If you're a master of all the 2B quests, I think you're really good for CS2B. Right? It's a green quest. 2B is a very good match. So, but you got to do it diligently and understanding and doing every, not just copying solutions. If you do that, I think you'll be totally set. And also be ready for 2C, because 2C is a different ball game altogether. Okay, you got to, yeah. I got a chance to talk about this in 2A. The 2A, 2B, and 2C, they're different beasts, but there's different similar kinds of challenges, but there are set in different spaces. Yeah. So the 2A challenges are more control flow challenges. 2B challenges are more structural challenges in space, right? 2C challenges, and obviously you need to be able to be already conversant with control challenges in order to face your structural challenges, okay? But when you go on a 2C, you're facing logical challenges, okay? Logical challenges for which you already need to be good at structural challenges and control challenges. Yeah, so that's the structure. That's how I see it. So 2A, but it's not just understanding at a high level. You got to understand it and keep doing it day in and day out repeatedly, like a musical piece. You got to play it until it becomes second nature. Okay, then you're ready to move on to understanding structures, because when you're understanding structures, you can't afford to think about do I need a boolean here or not. No, it just has to fall out like that. Like I'm talking in English when I'm talking English, and you're talking in Chinese when I'm thinking in Chinese, right? So it's just going to fall like that, and only practice will get you that. Otherwise you're going to try and understand and interpret on the fly. It's not going to work. It's like, Java virtual machine versus C++ native on the architecture. That's what we're talking about here. Yes. So you got to get practice and hone your skill. And then you're ready for structural challenges in this class. Okay. And you got to keep doing this. It's not enough to just pass the quests. Okay. You got to try variations of these quests. You got to try and look at various details like Mason was doing about, certain things. But why do we do it this way? Is it better to free the node here or free the node there? Under what circumstances will it be better? Okay, let me try that, okay? And see what kind of places where it's not a good trade-off, okay? But, those things you can think about it and say, okay, well, I can mentally simulate that. Okay, it doesn't seem like a good thing to do. But here's where you have the luxury of not having to mentally simulate that. If you mentally simulate that, you'll get like a 90% accuracy maybe, right? You try it out. If you try it out once, that'll also open up a whole lot more complex mental simulations that you don't have to do. Right? So you just try it out because you have the luxury of trying and failing as a student. And so take advantage of that. Don't just let it slip by saying, I got the luxury of trying and failing as a student. I'm going to slip it by, let it slip by because, I'm getting all these correct solutions, or I can get the answers, right? And it squeak through. Yeah, okay. Well, you squeak through, and finally you become a, squeak through successful adult, right? But you're going to be living under stress because now you have never failed before and you can't afford to fail. Yes, you're going to be living under stress all the time. So you got to learn how to fail. And being a student here in a community of other people who are also going to try and fail, okay? So in other words, here you have the charter of failing, okay? It's going to be really hard not to fail because I'm asking you to fail. Try and fail. Got to fail as many times as possible. I told this to my 2A students, right? So I'm not going to repeat it to them. But certainly, the studentship is an opportunity to try and fail in as many different guarded ways as possible. With some guy who's already failed, who's looking over you, making sure you don't make any fatal mistakes. Yeah. So try because, like 15, 20, 30 years ago, things like this weren't even available. When you're compiling a program and testing it out, and you got to do work out a lot of shit in your brain before you actually get to coding it, right? Because coding, everything was a luxury. So you only get a certain number of hours and things like that. When I was a student. So you got to do a lot of things on paper and the mind. But that's not the reason why I'm saying you got to do that. But I'm saying that fortunately, that kind of gave me the, or somehow made me internalize a lot of things by repeated, doing this again and again. It just became part of me, so that now I don't even have to think about those things. When I think about something, I just think about that. I don't have to think about the nuts and pieces because that's all been done so many times, right? So right now, all the technology and everything out there, that's making it very hard for younger students. Okay, you can get ChatGPT to write a Python program for you. Yeah, but you're not going to learn Python by doing that. So, but if and maybe you don't need to know Python in the future. Yes, because later on in the future, maybe you're going to be interacting with computers just by thinking, right? Because you can have some kind of thing that picks up electromagnetic radiation, interprets that, and does machine learning to find out what you actually want. Yeah. So maybe that we get a lot better at that, and we won't have to do that. We won't have to do any programming. But that's not why people will stop learning programming. Okay. Even in that day and age, there will be people who are intrinsically curious about how these things are done, right? I get things for free, but I want to know how it's done anyway. Yeah, there's going to be lots of people like that. So the intrinsic curiosity, that is not going to die. I think it's always going to be there, and it's going to fuel your quest for the truth until you find it. And so yeah, in the future, especially, I think people have to be conscious and careful, of where to let, automation will make your life a lot easier where you want it eventually. But only the wise people will know where to use automation and where not to use automation, right? And this is part of it. As students, sometimes it is useful to go through the grind, even though there is no need for it. Okay, so maybe someone says you don't need to learn programming languages now, right? That is total nonsense, right? Even though you can get some agent to write the program for you, or if you're a billionaire and you get 100 rock stars from all the best institutions in the world and have them write code for you, it doesn't cost you anything because you have tons and tons of money. It doesn't mean that you're not going to program. Yes, in fact, you're going to be programming more. I bet that someone like I don't know, say Musk, for example, who comes off as a programmer, right? Who's got a programming mindset to him. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think the way that he approaches things, from the news anyway, I don't know, right? From the news anyway, it seems like he's approaching things logically in a programmatic mindset, okay, making efficiency, efficiency improvements essentially, which is what we're going to be doing to all our programs. Yes, and I don't know how we got started talking about that, but I think yeah. Oh my gosh. I just got sidetracked for a moment and I lost track of what I was talking about. But essentially, you just have to practice. Yeah. Right. Even if you had everything, you're going to say, well, I'm going to take a crack at it. Right? I'm going to even though I have the best mind in the world working on this program, I want to work alongside them, or, ask them to go and try to understand what the hell is going on here. Right. So you got this curiosity in there. And in fact, you have more of your time to dip yourself into these curiosities, because you can pick and choose what is the most interesting problem I can immerse myself into today. Yeah, so you have the choice. And so yeah, that kind of thing, I think I think that is programming mindset, I think. Okay, it's just looking for efficiency and improvement, so we don't have to waste carbon, but at the same time, I think we have to be careful to make sure that we use automation in the right places, and we need to be able to automate in ourselves lots and lots of things that we take for granted external automation for, right? And here's the reason I say that is because, not everything out there needs to be automated. For example, I can have automation for, vacuuming the house or things like that, chores, which, even if it breaks down, I don't care. Okay, it's a minor fix, or, I can do it myself. However, there are lots of things that I can have automated for me, which I don't need to, right? So I can say, well, these are things that I don't need external automation for if I practiced, right? Maybe it requires 5 days of practice, but after 5 days, I don't need something else to do it for me. So I'm not dependent on something else. And at the same time, it's not hard for me to do either, because the 5 days of practice made it easy for me. Yeah, does it make sense? So invest the time and going through the grind, so that afterwards it becomes easy for you. And I think it is important to go through the grind, whatever it is, whether it's music or ceramics or programming or painting, right? Have to go through the grind, meaning that after the point where it becomes an entertaining side project, okay, that's how everything starts out for, right? People say, I want to learn to become a great painter, right? I say, do these things, okay, well, it's good, and people actually produce interesting things, but at a certain point, you get that point, right? That curve, and say that's an inflection point, and say, now I need major effort to go on to the next stage, right? However, I can still produce satisfyingly pleasing works at this point. And then you decide to, well, I want to go to the major effort. I think that push actually requires you to stay there and push yourself. And a lot of people say, well, you know what, satisfyingly pleasing is good enough, and they just stay there forever, right? But if you just climb that plateau as well, the sky is the limit, actually, because not only will you get to the next level, but you have much more practice in ascending levels, so you can keep on doing that, because it is the same kind of discipline and effort that it'll take to keep going. And so you find pleasure in a completely different kind of thing from then on. Yeah, so just in personal improvement and getting closer and closer to perfection. Because perfection really is, even if it's completely unattainable, right? So theoretical perfection is unattainable, right? But the pleasure in getting closer to perfection, I think, is probably the best possible pleasure you can ever get in mortal life. Okay, this is meaning that in any field you take, if you have a sense for what perfection is, right, even though it may be humanly unattainable, but if you have a sense for what perfection is, and if you improve yourself in a way that takes you closer to perfection, that gives you a pleasure that is beyond anything else that you can experience. I think. Well, is my it's a hypothesis, but it's a hypothesis that you can testify, test and independently verify. So, and in order to do that, you're going to apply yourself to any field. It doesn't have to be computer science or 2B or anything. It can, maybe you're learning a clarinet or a piano or whatever it is, a violin, right, or some kind of music. And then you have a feeling that, well, that's the limit. I'm a computer scientist. I should only have this as a bar, side player in a bar, right? Or something like that. But you say, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. You don't believe in myself. Because, if I should have any irrational beliefs, I'll just believe in myself. It's exactly what I told my CS2A students too, right? Believing in yourself against all odds, because everything, all the evidence, all the people that you live with, all the subliminal messages you're getting from other people and the society around you, probably limiting you and thinking, well, that's all I'm capable of. Okay, so if you want to believe that you're actually capable of a lot more than everybody's telling you, or everybody had you believe implicitly, right? So that is irrational. Because no stupid person, only stupid people will say do something that doesn't have any empirical evidence, right? So let's say, well, you do want to do that, but pick this and say, I'm going to believe in myself because nobody else, I'm just going to believe in myself because the evidence says I can get to a Nobel Prize, but I know I can get a Pluto Nobel Prize, okay, or something like that. Okay, so maybe the people around you say you can do great things, but that greatness also has a ceiling. But maybe you are really capable of beyond greatness. So you always aim for that and say, well, that is a vision of perfection. Take everything to the limit, right? Limit n tends to infinity or like that, right? So continues, go all the way and say, that is what I'm going for. And now once you know what it is you're going for, every step along the way is a step of pleasure. Okay, so that is my claim to you, that you're welcome to test and find out for yourself. But I think the application of that claim is going to be in 2B, right? If you don't drop this class and you're going to stick with it, and I think I can see that most of you are really truly interested in this course, right? And many of you have done my 2A also. If you haven't done it, you'll know that it does involve a lot of work. And even in my face-to-face class, I am actually imposing all these things, okay, all these constraints. It's going to be exactly the same as what Mason and Cindy and all these other people had online. It's just that I'm going to be there in person and in class. So they're going to be well prepared when they come to 2B. And then I ask that you don't give up after 2B, okay? Because almost 2/3 of the way. Actually, it's like 50% of the way, because 2C difficulty is like 50%. It's the sum of 2A and 2B difficulty, right? So, but 50% of the way is amazing. And I say, don't stop there. Okay, maybe it takes you 2 quarters, or maybe it takes don't do it in a week or a couple of weeks, even if you can. Okay, stretch it out over an entire quarter, because there's lots and lots of interesting juicy corners in 2C quests, even in 2B quests, starting in 2B anyway, right? So that you should spend time on to explore, because otherwise you'll just find the approximate path and go. But if you stay at one place, then you find all the little, like fractals, all the nooks and crannies. Okay. Oh, you know what? This is incredible, because if I change this by a null pointer, that's what happens. Or, all these interesting things, interesting observations. And they're not just interesting niceties that will come and go, I can tell you, right? So these observations that Mason is making, they just become part of you, and it'll just become second nature when you're cutting code for a professional organization, starting your own, company like Google or Facebook, like that, right? So when the code you cut would not require external validation, saying, hey, I got to call my friend who's like a PhD and ask them if this is okay. No, you just know, right? And it's just flowing through. It's just flowing through. You're not even thinking in C++. Okay, you're thinking. See, that's the other thing I found in many all of the programmers I've hired, all the many people, not just programmers, even the managers. The thing is, initially they start out conscious of what they just need to do, right? So in fact, I've done this because I've done the same thing when I was a boss also. So in fact, when I used to sit next to new hires and actually coach them through the code, one token at a time. Well, it wasn't really one token at a time, but sometimes one token at a time. It's other languages and all, because they're not familiar. So I used to coach them one by one, and then slowly I walk away and they're doing on their own, so get them rolling. So what I noticed was that initially, people are actually just staying in step with the logic of the program, the complete program After a while, I think you'll start feeling it. Okay. And if you're not feeling it, let me know, or, chime in the Reddit. Okay. I think a complete program that does something sensible and logical and beautiful, right, feels like a musical piece. It's similar, not it feels, it has similar components, meaning that it has a certain flow, that things happen in certain chunks like that. Okay, when this finishes, this has got to happen. Like when the sword finishes, you gotta shuffle happen, or some sequence of operations. You're not even thinking of individual operations now, right? Because you're thinking of structural changes that happen, because you know how these structural changes can be made to happen. At the end of 2B, you'll know, right? Because at the end of 2B, you'll know, oh, here's a structure, there's another structure. Okay, this algorithm starts with this structure, right, a heap, but this algorithm ends at a stack. And if I connect the two, I got a master algorithm that goes from here to there. Yeah. So now you're not thinking about, oh, I need a stack, I need a queue. No, breadth first. All of these things just fall into place because you're thinking about structures and how structures morph from one to another. And you say, well, you know what, in order to solve this problem, I need a stack, heap, and a queue, right? And I'm going to do a breadth first traversal. And you don't know the details of this yet, but you already know this is what you're going to do. And after you know that, you just slot things into place. And maybe you use the STL, pre-made for you because it does the job well. Or maybe you think that, STL is almost good because you know how to implement the STL, because you're going to be doing that in CS2C. But you say, it's almost STL, but there's an extra method that would be nice, so I'll just use my own, or, override it. You know exactly what to do. And you all do all these things and slot it together, and you got the solution there. Bam, like that. And it's a massive, big solution. And you can farm it out, MapReduce or something like that, over, millions and millions of CPUs. Yeah. So all of that just automatically falls out. And it is just exposure. Okay. So you just got to get used to it. 2C, keep going ahead. And at the end of 2C, you'll actually just totally feel conversant. Okay. Easy, comfortable. You don't need, even if it's a new algorithm that comes out, you just need to read a journal or a paper. You'll see, all right, this is what, because I think that most of the time, I was talking about engineers, right? So what happens is it's like a musical piece, one section after another. What I've noticed is that initially, new hires, or early in their programming career, they're in the logical structure, right? They're in that structure and they're thinking about it and coding about it, right? And they can't even talk, right? They're coding, and after a while, what happens is that when they're coding this, they're thinking about the next structure to follow, just like in a master musician, right? When they're playing a phrase, they already are planning out the next phrase, how that's going to sound. I don't know if it doesn't make any sense, but you're actually thinking one measure ahead. And the more expert you are, the more of it you can play in your head and know exactly. So you anticipate more. And so the master programmer anticipates what's going to come next. And so, as they're working on the stack, even though it's a tailor-made stack, they will know, right? 2 steps down the line, I'm going to use, some heap sort or something like that. Therefore, I'm going to use a slightly different version of stack, and it'll just guide it because they're looking there. And their stack will not be your standard stack. It'll be different. I don't know if that makes sense, but you'll actually feel all this. Okay, you'll feel this. Lots of programmers don't, right? Even here, even of the people I've hired, only a very small 1 to 2% actually get all the way to the end and say, well, actually feel the data structure in their bones. It is a great feeling. It is a feeling of being able to. I guess it's like a person just getting behind the wheel, a car person getting behind the wheels of this car that they've dreamt around, about all their life, right? And they feel the control, the feel that they can actually drive this beast. I think that's what it is, right? I'm not a car person, but but I don't think you get that until you get that, right? So you got to, like Neo and the Matrix. You guys are too young. It just came out when you guys were born, maybe, right? So you got to feel the data structure, and it actually comes with practice. And it's not any special talent. It's not special intelligence, okay? And lots of people may behave or make you feel like that it's special intelligence, special talent, okay? All it is just practice again and again, repeated exposure, so you know the ins and outs. That's all. Okay. Maybe that they did that subconsciously and didn't know. That's all. Okay. But after that, it's all the same. Once you get to know it, it's all the same. Whether you did it under influence of something that made you feel, happy about yourself as you were doing it because of natural interest, maybe, or you did it grudgingly, but at the end, you both feel the same way. So you got to get there. That's what I mean, right? So 2B, I know, especially now since there's so many tip sheets and people know how these quests work and all, don't depend on the tip sheets. Don't depend on other students, asking too many students. Spend the time yourself. Think about these problems. Break them, okay? Break them and try and solve them different ways, so you get a feel for the data structure. Even when you move on from the cache, right? So linked list to cache, very simple cache problem. Okay. And I didn't have this in mind, but it's really just a three-dimensional cache, a vector. Okay. A vector whose children are vectors, their children are vectors too, right? This is just like that. And you'll get to feel that. Okay. And then you'll get to make, and if someone comes with a customer tailored requirement, what time is it? I got 5 more minutes. I got, the 2A meeting at 7:30. Yeah. But anyway, so if it's a tailored requirement, you'll know exactly. I don't know. I got sidetracked. Sorry. But anyway, that's all I had to say. I don't have anything specific to say. Thank you all for enrolling and being in the class. Hey, hang on one sec. Viba. Well, is it just me, or is your screen like an ancient TV screen? With the horizontal lines and all. Like he's like in the Viba Rao in the X-Files, right? All
I
right,
think it
okay,
looks pretty
great.
cool.
Yeah, it is looks like like the Matrix effect. I was talking about the Matrix movie and all.
Yeah, looks pretty awesome.
But it is pretty cool. Very nice. It looks like you're on a spaceship, right? It's a spaceship and a time distortion and all. I'm talking to you over. Okay. Anyway, good. Anyway, thank you all so much. If you have any, by the way, you should all be done with blue quest, all of it, right? And do all the blue quests. And if you didn't do it by this morning, you can still get 5 out of 10 points. Okay, and you can still get the dog points. Okay, the only thing you'll lose is the 5 out of 10 points for not pupping it in time. A lot of you have pupped it, but otherwise, go ahead and do it as soon as you can. You actually technically have until the end of the quarter to pup it now, but you can't move on to green until you pup blue. So do it as soon as possible. Pup blue and start green. Because people will be making strong movement in green. I think once they get past the first quest, I think there's a certain momentum, and they just keep doing this. Okay, so you don't want to be left behind there. It's a lot of fun. And talk to some of the other people may know this, but in my 2B students, my previous 2B students, they said that it was no fun being behind, because in the meetings, people would always talk about quest number 2 or 3 or X, right? But you're like, quest number X minus 2, and you don't have anything, you feel you don't have anything meaningful to contribute or learn. And then, so the tips they tell you will also probably be forgotten by the time you get to that quest. So many of them said, doesn't feel right. So just stay in step with the rest of the class. That's what makes for the most, productive meetings. Okay. Most fun meetings too. And also, you want to use these meetings. They're all going to be on YouTube and your Reddit profiles. Okay, build them up. Okay, solid posts, so that when you make this final post, you should be not only for this class, but later on, someone who just searches for you, right? And goes and says, "Oh, Teddy who C C++," and this link shows up, right? Because in machines can get pretty good at indexing these things. And they click on it, they should just be able to see you 360-degree view, right? Your technical expertise, how you interact with other people, how kind you are, and how you read into someone's code without them describing or listing the code, right? So they describe a problem, and sometimes it's vague and you got to ask for clarifications. But many times I see students who just look at a student's description of a problem and they know exactly what the hell is going on, right? Of course, I mean, they don't tell it exactly to the face, saying, "Oh, you got to fix this." But I know from the types of answers they give, they know exactly what the hell is going on, even though they didn't describe the code. And that's all a very useful skill to have. Especially, increasingly, you're going to be talking to more and more non-computer scientists who are using programming things, okay? And knowing how to describe logic, right? Or, critically thought out things in a way that is amenable to laypersons is a fantastic skill to have. Whatever you do, even if you're a politician, right? You figured out this grandiose vision, right? Which requires some kind of logical or sophisticated thought, which will not show fruits until iteration 7 or something like that. I'm pretty sure if you study history, these things, there are certain things that you can do that won't result in immediate benefit for a long time. And I'm told that in ancient China, they used to plan 7 generations ahead. Okay, which means that you won't even see the results of what the community decides until for a long time ago, right? And so it's incredible planning. And so I don't know where I was going with that. Is it going with that? Gee, I know where I was going with that. I got sidetracked again. I'm sorry. But anyway, but that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know if it comes to me, I'll make a post or something like that. But that's all I say. Have any questions? Ask me. No. No. All right. So yeah, just feel free. Yeah. Make these profiles. Okay. Make these profiles, and people can just click on it and say, I want to hire that person. Okay. I'm pretty sure, right? Right now, I'm just looking at these. When I have interesting work to do, I just click on the red dogs and look at their profiles and say, well, they've done a great job there. Maybe they can do this project for me, right? So I hire them as interns sometimes at Nonlinear Media, and some people I know do that too. But it's only a matter of time before other people find out too. Recruiters can also start poaching the big dog, red dogs. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. But right now, okay. So if you can just go maintain a profile, right? Even if you want to, you may get contacted by people who just looked you up by profile and looked at your complete view. Right? That's why it's much better than interviews and everything, where you don't really get a 360 view of the person. Okay, how they behave with other people, all these things, so many cool things you'll actually get to see in the profiles. And in fact, I look at all the profiles and the videos of past students, and it's incredible. It's uh, especially people that go all the way from 2A on to 2C. I see their videos, when they're converting the name from hexadecimal and so on and so forth, and writing little programs, if statements, and they're dealing with pointers and so on. And they are not even aware most of the time, right? Because every time you have these little challenges, and you're always facing challenges, but once you cross them, you tend to forget about them. But when you look back at the end, you see, wow, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've come that far. Okay, so yeah, so you can keep going on. Okay. All right. If you don't have any further questions for me, I can check out of this meeting if you like. All right, you can continue your meeting and discussion, and you can also come prepared with questions that you want to ask, so that you don't have to think of questions on the fly here before the
I do
meeting.
have a
Think of
question.
interesting questions to ask, or interesting things to spark discussions. If one doesn't, try another one. So come with 4 or 5 ideas. And the idea is that you can slowly turn the flavor of this weekly meeting into something like a talk show that you can post on YouTube and people just tune in and watch. Right? There's a bunch of students talking about interesting things, and they're talking and raising interesting things, right? Interesting bugs, interesting. Talk about these things in a way that will make sense and be interesting for other people, and it's a useful skill to have, right? Because you break down logic and to in a way that's understandable by other people. Again, that is something that only comes with practice. You have to keep doing that, like a teacher. Okay, essentially you'll become, even if you're not a professional teacher, it helps to be a teacher, because you'll be able to explain things. Because otherwise, if you're not a teacher, you got to be a king, right? So in life, you only have 2 choices if to be happy. Is you either be a king and say, this is what I want, everybody does this, okay, whether you believe it or not, this is what you got to do. The other is, no, I don't want to be a king, I want to be a teacher. These are the 2 choices the Buddha was faced with, apparently. Well, this just occurred to me, but those are the 2 choices he was faced with, right? Teacher is a path that he chose, because still I want other people to do what I want, but I'm not going to tell them or order them to do it. I'll explain to them that this is the best thing for them, right? So I will explain to them why this is good for you. You'll go and do it yourself. Okay, so that's a teacher path. And I think going down the teacher path is good for everybody, right? Because everybody has things that they want to do, and better than managers too, right? Of all the people that I've hired as managers, the good managers are also good convincers, right? Whether it's convincing you to give them a better pay or convincing their employees to do better work, right? Convincers, meaning that they don't order people around, say, well, your next paycheck depends on this. No, they say, well, if you did this, it'll be cooler for you and for me, and the product will be cooler too. They're able to get that vision across and say, well, it's fun for them too to do it. So then they're teaching the other person to think and make the decision for themselves. As a teacher, my job is not to overload you with information and saying, this is information that's come down to me, and I'm passing this on to you. That is not the job of a teacher, okay? That is the job of an automaton. Right? As a teacher's job is to say, well, there's a lot of information. I'll tell you how to make sense of the information so you can find more information yourself. That is what a teacher should do, right? So in 2B, we got a certain kind of information. I'll try and show you how to make sense of that kind of information, right? Like in 2A, that kind of information. 2C, different kind. With these three, I think you have enough to actually make sense of a whole lot of stuff, right? Even machine learning, data engineering, game design, everything is just built around pieces that you can pull from here, okay? It's like, Army tool chest, these three things put together. And the other things are like specialized tools that you learn. Well, once you learn the basic tools of the trade, and then you say, I want to be a BMW mechanic or something like that, right? Or, racetrack, Formula One or something like that. You specialize in one particular thing, right? So you know exactly, it takes, 17.7 seconds to change the tire, right? Something like that, right? So because they know exactly everything inside out, they, close their eyes and put the hands on their bolt, right? So that level of familiarity, that means they already know all the basic automotive stuff, right? Because, you can't get to be this until you've been that. And then you say, well, I'm going to specialize in one area and not in so many different cars, one particular kind of car, Ferrari or something like that, right? So you focus and learn in and out of that alone. And that really is what characterizes many fields, whether it's music or computer science, right? You learn the basic tools of the trade, and then using that, determine the area that most appeals to you, whether it's VR, right? Language model, right? Or theoretical computer science. You got a lot of time. Don't make up your mind right now saying, well, I'm going to do this because I want to control AI, right? No, that's not the right approach, right? You don't even know what AI is. You got to understand AI before you control it, right? So, in fact, Justin, where's Justin? Not this Justin, the other. Hang on. Oh, Justin, yeah, you asked the question, right? I said, no, you got to understand AI before you control it, right? And it's the same thing with all of the things, right? All of the data structures too. It is Python and lots of these languages give you the ability to control these data structures. Because, in Python, you can use a dictionary. You can control, that's basically controlling a hash. Yes or no? Well, you guys haven't implemented hashes yet, but a Python dictionary is basically a hash map, right? And then by using Python, put place and everything, you're basically controlling a hash map. But that is not real control. Real control is trying to implement the dictionary yourself, which you'll be doing in CS2C. In CS2C, you'll implement the dictionary in different ways, not just one way. Different way. So you understand the guts of the dictionary. It basically becomes part of you. Understand what the hell the dictionary does, what the complexities are, what are the trade-offs and everything. And then when you use a Python dictionary, it's completely different from that point onwards. So understanding is the first step. We should never ever control anything that we don't understand, okay, including nature. Only disaster awaits someone who tries to control something without understanding it first, right? And chances are, when someone understands something properly, they're not wanting to control it anymore. Because when you understand something, it's in the flow, right? And it's doing what it's supposed to do, I think, most of the time, right? Very rarely you nudge it. And because when you apply pressure and change it, it's not a permanent thing. You got to consume resources to keep it in that direction. So there's a game there, right? So there's a lot of lot to be said for leveraging the natural flow of things. Yeah, leveraging the natural flow of things, we get the advantage of spending the least amount of energy to get what we want. And so I don't know how we got started talking about that, but certainly.
Hi, I did have a question though.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for the Reddit account, I made my
Yeah.
username in all caps. Is that allowed? I saw nobody
Yeah.
else
You
did it.
posted and nobody replied. I
Okay,
actually
yeah, yeah.
upvoted it saying, yeah, that's okay. Doesn't matter. As long
Okay, good
as
to
I can
know.
make
I
the.
wasn't sure. Maybe you had some program
Yeah,
that
I
like
know.
goes through.
And
Yeah,
and
okay.
you also I also
Sounds
saw your
good.
post saying you were new to this whole thing and Reddit and everything. That was you, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe you got the
Yeah,
wrong guy.
don't
I'm not
worry.
sure.
It's
I
just
also
just
had
another discussion forum.
I also
Reddit
had a
unfortunately doesn't let you change the username, okay? Because otherwise you can change it, but unfortunately people can't change their Reddit username.
I also had a question about like Quest 6. Like I've been having trouble with it for like the past few days now, and I'm
Uh-huh.
not sure. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but like maybe what I'm doing is a little too random because everything works except the void function of like yeah, you have pets and get pets like and I'm calling
How about this,
and
Justin? I saw your posts, okay? I saw your post. In fact, I locked that comment too. Yes?
yeah,
The one of the threads, right?
sorry for the
No,
fishing.
no need to apologize. Students don't know these things, and I don't expect you to know. I lock it for your own benefit. Okay. So
Mhm.
you don't discuss this anymore in the meeting after I'm gone. Okay. So you got to
Okay.
pour over this for a couple of days, right? If you don't have the answer by day after tomorrow, I'm pretty sure someone will actually give you a better tip.
Okay.
Try experiment with the code, draw pictures out. I think Mason or someone actually responded to your post too, saying you should draw a picture out, and then you asked a follow-up question. You know, this is Rand and all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I only.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
only
So you got to
rant.
experiment,
Rant.
okay? You got to experiment and find out, okay? I think lots of people have given you lots of information. Any more will basically suck the pleasure out of it for you. Just spend a couple of days. Don't be impatient,
Okay.
because you missed the pup date already. Of course, you got
Mhm.
to finish it. Start green,
Yeah,
but
I'm trying
still,
to finish it.
it's better. It's not good to rush all the way through and then start green. Okay, it's not a good idea. There have been people who've just gone through and said, well, I'll come back next week, next quarter, and do green. I'll just complete all of blue this time. In fact, all of green too, right? I finish all of blue, and then in their spare time, they also finish all of green, and then they enroll in 2B, having already finished all of the green quests, right? So this is some people like that too. So that's also an option available to you. Don't fall into the trap of saying, I'm going to rush through this just so I can get to green and finish that too and get an A, or that is all totally useless at the end. Okay, in 10 years time, you're not going to give a shit about whether you got an A or a C here. Okay, but what you learn now is going to be super duper important in not even 10 years, any number of years from now. Yeah, so just take your time, give it your all. Maybe tone down your other classes, choose your other classes. Don't overload yourself with stuff that you're not going to need, right? Even if stuff that you need, you're just going to have to. You're in high school right now.
No, I'm in college. I'm taking
Yeah,
this
even if you're in
course as
college,
a.
right? Yeah, yeah. So if you have hard math, hard physics, hard CS, uh, our counselors are actually pretty good at this, but some of them may not know the details. But students usually know the better details. You got to sequence them. You got to think 3 quarters ahead. Okay, always think 3 quarters ahead. Don't plan for just the current quarter. 3 quarters ahead, and say, is my load equally distributed? Because what happens is that you have a really heavy load in one quarter and you do a lot of courses, you probably get burnt out, or you get used to a certain standard of work, and then the next quarter you check out. It's like people going on weight control things, right? Binge and not, I don't know. This is various things to it, right? So just 3 quarters ahead. Don't do challenging courses. If you think other courses are challenging, drop 2B. Okay, come back to it next quarter. Continue with 2A. You can make use of all the help you can get on Genius Bootcamp. People are going to be helping you. All your classmates are going to be helping you anyway, whether you're enrolled or not. But do all the 2A quests. Pick up your A's in some other class, because you'll have more time on your hands, and then come back and enroll again next quarter. Maybe you'll even be done with quest 1 and 2 in green.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to be offering 2B.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't be in a rush, guys. Okay, not just Justin. Everybody, it's not a game. Okay, it's not a competitive game. This is, I'm going to rush through the first, the first to the end. Totally does not matter. Who, there's nobody even. Yeah, you got to enjoy, right? This is, a rare privilege to actually go through and at your own pace with the community of people that can, help you enjoy and point out interesting things along the way. If you're marching with everybody, and people will show interesting things. But if you say, I'm going to be bam, bam, bam like that, and people are out here and talking about interesting things, you'll be done. And when you're done, your natural proclivity is to say, well, I'm done. I got more time. Let me try and pick up a new skill, right? Maybe you got extra time. You're going to do something else, or maybe play extra Fortnite, and time will just disappear. And so if you pace yourself okay, then you'll have enough time to spend on each thing instead of rushing to the end. Because people who rush to the end often have to come back and do the whole thing if they want to do it. So if you want to make computer science your future, you got to spend every second to the fullest, right? Instead of saying, and I don't have any problems. In fact, I greatly encourage students in 2B who are at risk of, either burnout or taking on too many kind of classes and feeling pressured and not being able to appreciate computer science. I encourage them to drop, okay, and say, do this in your own time. We'll give you all the help you can get if you are a fully enrolled student. How much better can it get? Because we're not even using Canvas discussions, right? We're using Reddit. Canvas means you're out of the class, you can't discuss. We're on Reddit. So everything is there. The only thing you won't get is tests and quizzes, which you can do next quarter when you enroll.
All right.
So you should take advantage of these things and come back, and you'll have a much better experience. Okay, instead of rushing through this and asking, give me the answer.
Mhm.
You'll be able to enjoy it.
Okay.
All right. That's what I saw from your posts. Okay, it seemed like you were rushing a little bit, and you said you wanted an A, right? Anyone who says I want an A, it's not a good sign for education. Okay,
Okay.
so A should be a natural fallout, saying I'm interested in it and I did it, to the best of my ability because I'm chasing perfection, not an A. A is only here, but perfection is there. So I'm always chasing perfection, and because I'm going towards perfection, an A happened to fall out because I passed it. Yeah, that is the
Yeah,
best
that's
A.
understandable.
Yeah. So don't mention, and then you can mention it if that's what you're after, but it's not a good attitude, right? Don't go after the grade. Always go after education, especially community colleges. Things are so cheap. There's lots of people who actually know their shit, okay, and they're just teaching, uh, because it's fun and it's interesting,
Mhm.
okay, or they're set
Mhm.
already and they're just teaching. You take advantage of this, okay, because if you go to a research institution, yeah, I know because I've been in research institutions and all, 50% of my mind is based on, is devoted to research, at least 50%, right? I'm thinking of an open
Mhm.
problem, doing the experiment, and I'm talking to someone, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what was the result of that experiment? I got to go back and check, right? Not oh my God, like, but I'm still thinking what the hell is going to happen there. So, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is true. We have a lot of students from UCSC, UCSB, UCSD in our
Yeah,
classes.
I'm from UC.
Um,
Yeah, I'm from UC Merced. So
Oh, you are. Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot of
yeah.
students. So right? So these are research institutions because the faculty have also to do research and they got to do, our tenure.
Mhm.
And so their focus is different. Okay. So that means that when you enroll in community college courses, you pick the classes carefully because, there's also shady courses where faculty actually don't know what the hell they're teaching, right? Even in computer
Yeah.
science. Computer
Yeah.
science too. It's very hard to find really good professors who know what the hell they're teaching, right? So in computer science,
Mhm.
I know, for example, Lane Johnson, who was a STEM tutor, who's now a full-time prof, right? He's absolutely fantastic. Okay. In fact, the only person I actually trust to absolutely know what the hell is going on in questing. In fact, when you do the quest later on, you'll see that some of these things actually have Lane's name in them. Hey, this thing is due to Lane. Okay, so in fact, he's the only person I actually know. I have evidence that he actually knows computer science. Solid. Okay, so you got to pick these classes, and you got to work hard. Okay, and maybe
Okay.
after picking the class, you got to trust the prof. Okay, you got to trust. But that's why I mean picking the prof that you're able to trust. Because if you pick a prof that you don't trust, then you just treat the prof as an information source, saying, well, what does the prof know? Is this going to get me information? I'm going to be tested on it. I'm going to pass. Okay, so this is just a waypoint. Okay, so but that's available everywhere. You go to a prof in any field, whether it's painting or art. So do some research, find out, well, that's the prof I'd like to learn from because I actually respect the person. I can trust them 100%. Once you decide to trust them, you got to do whatever the shit they tell you, right? Not, not like kill yourself and all. They say, you got to do this, even though it's not, you're not going to get the answer. You're going to do this. You got to trust them because the only way they got to know what they did was actually going against the grain and saying, I'm going to do this, even though I believe that I'm not going to succeed. Okay. And it actually worked
Okay.
out. They
Okay.
have personal evidence. Yeah. So you got to believe that. And it's not just me. Okay. You're going to go on to other colleges, do postgraduate study maybe after UC Merced, right? So you're going to pick a PhD advisor if you're going to do doctorate. And this is what you got to look for because I know lots of PhD candidates who actually pick the wrong advisor. And it's been 7 years, 8 years, right? Never get the dissertation done. I was actually at risk of doing that, right? I switched advisors. But it was, it's not a PhD that I'm proud of. Now, but certainly I know a lot of students, brilliant students actually, who basically got stuck with because it's they have to go for someone who actually knows what the hell is going on. Okay, and they know exactly this problem needs to be solved and this is the way to solve it. Except that I can't see so clearly now, and I hope some a brilliant young person who's nimble with their mind and their fingers can do it and do it for me. Okay, so that's the kind of prof. There's lots of profs like that. And
Okay.
and people just say, I want to do a PhD and pick a random prof or say who has time for a student. Doesn't work. You got to do some research and find out, hey, this guy's published some interesting algorithms, okay, and defend it themselves and saying, well, that's why it works. And then you say, well, I want to go and poke holes in the algorithm. That's a PhD topic. Okay, so those are the kinds of things that you will start looking for. Whether it's data mining, machine learning, all of these things will also become second nature and interesting to you because I think machine learning and data AI in general is also is just a form of really hard critical thinking that comes through good programming. Okay, just trying to find out expert cases, and because the data needs to be shaped in a particular way in order to get a certain kind of hypothesis,
Right.
settled in the net.
Right.
And these are things that you get learned by experience, but you get by lots of practice too, because you get to look at some large amounts of data and see patterns in there that other people can't even see. And in fact, when I was at SRI in the speech lab, Avery, one of my friends at that time, he was at Stanford, and he had just invented the algorithm for Shazam. This is a company called Shazam. Do you know that? Anyway, now it's all part of iPhone, right? So you just hold up the iPhone or the phone and say, what song is this? It'll tell you what song it is. Yeah, you just listen to it. But at that time in the 90s, I think it was still research, and he was at Kerma at Stanford, and he came to our lab and gave a talk. And he said, here is some noise in a bar. Can you tell us what song was playing? And we can't tell what song it is, right? It's just noise, white noise, huge amounts of white noise. You can't tell any song there, right? And then he said, this is a song, right? And without the noise. And he played the song alone. And then he played the song with the noise. And we can tell, because, our mind is primed and we can tell. Now we can tell the signal apart. But the interesting thing is, when you get to be expert enough, you don't have to look at the minimal pair to make the cancellation, right? When you get to be really good enough, when you look at large amounts of data, you automatically see some kind of a pattern. And it's happened to me many times. When I was a junior a long time ago, I did this large amounts of data. And I said, yes, it's total junk, right? There's nothing in there. And someone I was with said, no, there's a really cool signal in there. And then I sit with them for half an hour, and they're just taking this data set, piping it through various Unix commands, sort and stuff like that, filtering things out with set and all command level stuff. And out the other end, we get filtered data, which is very clearly, there's a pattern in there. You can tell the signal is really strong. So it just takes expert signal. When I was when I was a student of science, right, philosophy, right, very, very long time ago, in philosophy of science, one of the examples was how biases help shape what we actually see. And one of the examples was that X-rays, right? When you become a radiograph, whatever that guy is, right, who looks at X-rays and makes diagnoses or something like that. Most people can't even see anything in there. But it takes a lot of training to just look at the X-ray and say exactly what the hell is going wrong. And they can actually point out little details which is different from someone else. It just comes from repeated exposure, many, many thousands and thousands of frames, and looking at these things, right? The same thing happens with any data. This is visual data of that particular format. But in data mining and machine learning, it's not a one-day thing. You have, years and years of looking at different kinds of data, so you get an intuition. So, as anyone who says, I'm going to become a data science or machine learning engineer after my graduation, I'm going to focus in there, total nonsense. They don't have any idea what the hell they're talking about, right? The best thing is to become a good computer scientist, get into anything that appeals to the computer science in you, right? And whatever that field is, you'll find things that are naturally appealing to you, whether it's data science or AI, it'll come towards you, because once you're in the field, everything is kind of connected. You'll get more work in that area, you'll start migrating, and you'll start naturally drifting rather than forcing yourself in a box. And I'm going to do this, I'm going to be that, total nonsense. And you just, you'll eventually do what you want in life, but it'll just be a waste of 15 years, maybe, right? Doing something, that is not, you can save a lot of time, even though you have a lot more life years than, for example, someone my age, because, genetic engineering and all, you'll have a much longer life, but still saving these 15 years of angst, saying, last 15 years or last 25 years, I was doing something that was totally at odds with what I actually want to do in life. And why, right? I don't have a good reason for that. So you'll never feel that, because you'll actually find out but it shouldn't be something that is going to drive you crazy or, drive you bankrupt. You got to set up for security and find out what you're really interested in and just give it your all, right? And that's where a good teacher helps, because a good teacher will tell you that, well, it doesn't look like you're going to understand it, but you're going to do this anyway, because I know that people who don't understand it have understood it eventually just by pressing themselves repeatedly against this, right? Someone who doesn't understand that will not be able to tell you that with confidence, because they don't understand it themselves, right? So, but I know repeated practice just makes that, ingrained in you, and you'll just start thinking at the next level. When people are talking about this and, novice moves, but you'll be thinking here, because, the sophisticated structures are, ready for you to use. For them, they got to put the sophisticated structures together first with, basic parts. But all of that is there in your shelf for you already. So you can start thinking, and then you'll start interacting with people who are also, talking about the same level of abstraction. And that level lets you uncover more mysteries and wonders of the world and the universe than, the shallow stuff, which is usually content with, Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't know if any of that makes any damn sense to you guys. But I'm actually very pleased at the end of the day that all of you are here. And Justin, even if you're going to drop it and come back next time, I wish you the best of luck. And I'm going to be there, right? I'm going to be there on the forum.
All right.
And I don't think you'll ask any, phishing type questions now, but now that you know what the hell it is, but try and take whatever time it takes, right? But do everything by yourself.
Mhm.
That will be a very worthy experience.
All right.
Anything else for me? Otherwise I can take off. Yeah. And slowly you can start, I don't have to attend next week and all, right? So unless I'm invited to a specific meeting, I got to go in 5 minutes. Yeah, no, it's 7:30. So I don't have to attend all of these meetings, but slowly they'll start taking a flavor of their own, like talk shows and saying, oh, we're talking about these interesting things. And keep in mind that, it's not just to help each other. You're actually producing interesting and educational, interesting and fun content in general, because these YouTube videos are actually, some of them are actually fun to watch. People explaining things to each other, because if you find something that's really interesting, you can actually make a YouTube clip and post it. And on, general YouTube, saying here is how to traverse a trinary tree or something like that. I don't know, right? And we had to talk about that. And you do maybe you add a bit more padding to it, like pictures drawn on iPad or something, use iMovie on a Mac or something like that, make it a YouTube video. I'm pretty sure lots of people are interested in these kinds of things. The only danger I say with YouTube, any of the online educational content, is that there's you find everything there, meaning that whatever you want to learn you find. But good education, I find, matters in not everything, but here, but none of this. This is stuff you got to figure out, and then this. So, but if you go to YouTube, you'll find everything. And you got to be careful to find some authority or someone who knows, not authority, someone who knows, saying, all right, if you've done that, don't do these lead code problems at all, right? So these things, lead code is okay, you're going to figure it out yourself, right? But these YouTube videos, don't watch these videos. You go on to that one, because these things, you just draw it on paper and figure it out yourself. Nobody's there to tell you that, I think. But if you have someone, a computer science person at home, in Silicon Valley, it's very highly likely. You can ask for their guidance there. You never ask them for guidance on code, should never show them code, but you can ask them, right? I'm learning about binary trees now, right? Well, and there's a bunch of videos out there. Which one should I do? And they'll have a very good sense of what is too easy for you, right? So you should never do the easy ones. You should do slightly harder, not too hard, slightly harder. And then you'll be able to, just like a swimming pool or whatever it is, covering the maximum distance is the best jump you can make every time. So find that's the danger of YouTube. Lots of people I know just following through YouTube, they've done a lot of YouTube videos, but they haven't gotten anywhere. They're just doing one after another, similar kinds of levels of complexity. Just doing one problem after another. Just like, on Euler.net, there's a lot of problems, yes? But many of them are the same level of difficulty too. And so just like that in programming too. And there's lots of lead code problems that are similar level of difficulty. And you can get, just like in life, there are too many things that we can do that we can just get good enough at. Good enough, not expert at, good enough. And there's too many. We can do something until some place where it gets challenging, and say, well, I know good enough, right? So I know I can paint well enough. Now I'll go and learn to sculpt. I can sculpt well enough. I can throw well enough. I can program well enough. So I just well enough of a lot. There's lots of people like that. And the danger in life is that there's too many of that. So we got to consciously draw back and say, there's an infinite number of well enoughs. So if I want to just make a change, I can do it well enough. I got to say, I'm not going to do infinite number, because I'm not infinite capacity. Instead of doing infinite times 1, I'm going to do 1 times infinite, right? Or something like that, or 2 times infinite. So I have a finite number of things that I concentrate on, but I'm going to do them really well. And that way you can forge ahead more and discover more uncharted territory. Because that was just the same old boring thing. Unless you're happy with the same old boring thing too, that's fine. But I find that a lot of people aren't. Yeah, especially young people like you. You want to find new things, it's exciting, and and it's and finding new things in terms of just getting a new job or new kind of, one kind of gig to another kind of gig, machine learning here, VR development there, switching from one place to another, one field to another. Those are not the kinds of changes. Okay, changes should be, in yourself, in your own improvement. You can say, well, you know what, last year I didn't know this, I know this year. So that kind of change, and then it's measurable. You should be able to see that, and you just step through that, and you'll see, every time that happens, how much better off you are than. I think maybe you're already there, right? But I'm just saying that it would be a very good investment of your time to just say, I'm going to focus on just a few things. And I'm glad I'm saying this here in the first lecture or first week of any of these computer science classes. Okay, all these students are crazy, I think, in my opinion, right? They're enrolling in all kinds of heavy courses, like 20 units of all hard courses, and they're doing all of it at the same time, and they're finishing all of it in six whatever it is, 12 weeks. Okay, not summer, 12 weeks. Why for? What is it for? Who are they trying to prove what to? Right? In the end, I don't know if after getting that, they got to sit down and let it marinate and grow neurons over several years slowly, right? So why not just take it in step instead of all in one and then sit down and let it grow? I think that's what my recommendation is. So tone down if you're at risk of being like one of those people, and say, no matter who tells me, I'm just going to do this because I know that I can be really good at it. Right? Even if I don't know I'm not going to be good at it, I believe someone who says that I will be good at it if I just put myself into it. Okay, so that is blind faith. All right, you say I don't believe in that holy person, but I believe in my prof, who says that even though I don't believe that I'm going to become great, I will be great if I just work at it. Okay, so just believe in me and go ahead, and then 10 years ahead, later on, you'll send me email saying, hey, you know what, you are totally right. Here I am on the top of Pluto, sending this to you on intergalactic flight. Okay, so who knows, that could happen. Okay, so just believe in yourself. Okay, not in me, but believe in yourself, but believe in me that I'm telling you to believe in yourself. That's all. What time is it now? I got to go to my two. Oh my gosh, it's just 7:32. 7:30 is my meeting with 2B. Okay, so thank you all for your time. In fact, I can leave this meeting. Okay, I don't have to end this meeting unless you have any questions for me. I'm happy to join later on if you invite me. But otherwise, try and get more people to attend. Okay, and do more catch-ups if you want. Happy to
I
organize
have
as many.
one quick question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Noah. Was it Noah? Sounds like a quick question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
For the final? Okay, cool. For the final and the midterm, what content are we like trying to prepare? Like, are we just gonna be like, is it
They'll be on the
basically based
modules.
on the questing?
Modules 1 to 6, modules 1 to 6, 6 to 12.
The
No. Quests, yeah. Quests are just a sample. Quests are just the tip of the iceberg, okay? Modules have all of the computer science. Hey, Noah, you got a lot of time, okay? You can start reading the modules.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I know Noah's already
So
done
that's all the
with most of these quests. Okay, so you got a lot of time. So just don't enroll in all the heavy-duty courses, but spend a lot of time on the modules. Good?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, okay. Any other questions for me? Or else I'll take off my 2B meeting. Okay, all right, I'll see you guys later, okay? All right, I'm just leaving. You guys don't have to leave. Bye.
So everyone's finished discussing any questions?
Have you made it to the 2C quests
I have not. I just started.
or the 2B?
Oh, I finished 2B Quest 1, and I just started reading the specifications for Quest 2. How about you?
I actually worked on this class on the quest like in my own time, so I'm pretty much done with them all.
Cool.
Yeah. Kind of moves by so fast. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up. I was just like trying to do it at that pace.
Well, I guess I'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.